Good morning everybody. I thought I'd film outside again today. This is the first day we've had some really lovely weather. It has rained and rained and rained. It's been awful here. So I think everyone's excited. We've got a bit of sunshine. So you'll have to excuse the seagulls, and we've got some baby blackbirds that have just fledged. And well, that's nature. It's lovely to hear it. But we'll see how we go with the noise. They've just decided to start squawking the minute they see the camera, I'm sure. So, this is the Buddyathon wrap up, and without further ado, we'll get cracking with it. Quite a lot to say. So, the book by Sarah Moss, the title Zone. This is the book that Keriann and I read as our buddy read. Keriann from WomanVsBooks. Now, this book has had a lot of hype over the last year, should we say, and there's no doubt that Sarah Moss is a very good writer. She's written many really good novels, and many people have rated this book 5 stars, and in some respects I can understand that. However, what I feel is that the first chapter was amazing. I gave that 5 stars, and I'll leave the link down below if you've not already seen it. I've already read out the first part of the first chapter for last week's Friday reads because I thought it was so beautiful. And do you know, sorry, I'm itching again. I'm sure that somebody comes along and tickles my nose. It doesn't itch the rest of the time. Yeah, and I mean, I've written in here that I've given it 5 stars just for that first chapter. And there are elements in this book that I would give 5 stars. I like the section where Adam, the father, explains to his younger daughter that you know, her sister, what's happened to her, and he explains with some medical information, and not too graphic as to frighten her, but enough for her to realise that there's something serious going on, and they need to pay attention to that. So there were elements in that I liked. Now, as I've discussed when I did my TBR, this is every parent's nightmare, and he's Adam, who's a stay-at-home dad, and he's doing some research on Coventry Cathedral in the war because he's an art historian, but hasn't really been able to get much work, so decided that he would stop at home and look after the girls while his wife, the GP, went out to work. And then he got a phone call to say that could he come quickly because there'd been an incident at school, and his eldest daughter was rushed off to A&E because she had stopped breathing on the field and needed CPR. And the story goes on from there. I have to say that I found some of the medical parts of this annoying. You know, having been a senior nurse and nurse manager for nearly 40 years and an advanced nurse practitioner, you know, I always get annoyed by the way some of the medical stuff is portrayed. And you know, first of all, rightly so, we've got the excellent teacher who straight away, this girl's, he finds her, she's had a cardiac arrest, so they say, and he does mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and he already does the correct cardiac massage. However, as we go on, it seems that she's only had a respiratory arrest. Only that's enough, but it's a respiratory arrest, not a cardiac arrest at some points. You're led to believe, which then that is inaccurate. You know, life-saving what's happened there, that, you know, as first aiders will know, if they've had a respiratory arrest but the heart is still beating, you don't do cardiac massage. So, you know, there was some little inaccuracies like that. Listen to the birds, and oh, my little babies, and yeah, we get further into the book as we get nearer the end. It turns out that they decide that she had a major respiratory arrest due to some sort of anaphylactic incident, and then the cardiac arrest was secondary to that, so that's fair enough. But you know, it's nearer the back of the book where we get that information to explain why she had cardiac massage. The other thing is that you know, they've got the air ambulance there ready to rush her off to hospital, and you know, she's had a cardiac arrest. This girl is very seriously ill, and the next thing you know, her father gets to the hospital. She's sat up in bed watching television. No, that won't happen. So the other thing is, I didn't like how the medical profession was portrayed in this. So equally as Keriann will have put on her wrap up, that poor Keriann was absolutely mortified, because there's a section in this that really looks at childcare in this country, and really you know, is quite derogatory of nursery care, childcare, etc. And rightly so that she was upset. I don't particularly like how the nurses are portrayed. Very old hat. You know, she's in a high dependency unit, and it's, oh hello, Dad's here today. Has Dad come to visit? And how's Dad today? You know, and I cringe, and I think, you know, most places that you know, she's got a name, he's got a name, and you know, she's 15, and you know, that's you just find it cringeworthy. We then go further on when she's actually discharged from hospital. She goes to the outpatients, and yes, that wasn't correct. I didn't like how that nurse sort of shouted out how much she weighed, and you know, she did have a go at her. I want to call her Miriam. I think it's Miriam. Can't think what her name is now. Yeah, sure it's Miriam. Mimi, yeah. And I didn't blame her for saying something. And you know, it was sort of very rude, awful comeback that the nurse gave her for sticking up for herself. Now, you know, yes, we've all seen where occasionally you do get that. I'm not saying that all nurses are perfect, but you know, in a way, that doesn't need to be portrayed without it being addressed. You know, it needs to be reported. So somebody senior, as I would have got a complaint as a manager, then I'd have gone and looked into that and made sure that, you know, procedures were followed better. So anyway, that's by the by. But you know, it's these little things that make you annoyed that then spoil your enjoyment of the book. So that's both Keriann and I felt that our professions weren't particularly nicely portrayed. Nicely, that's not quite the word, is it? And then we go further on to where Adam and Miriam goes to see the consultant, and what an awful consultant this man is. I don't know, sometimes they can be a bit arrogant, etc., but again, we only see the worst side of what's happening there, and I don't particularly think that the way that they saved her life and the good care she would have had in the high dependency unit gives an equal balance there. So, my rant over. I gave it 3.5 stars in the end, because there were elements of this that I thought were 2 stars, and as I say, there was the first chapter and there was some elements there that were 5 stars, so on an average I gave it 3.5. Yes, I liked how it was portrayed, the fear, the worry, the anxiety about having a child, a teenager, that has got a potential life-threatening chronic condition, and that needs to be taken into account, you know, for the aftercare, etc. Yeah, I've been there, and I thought that was well portrayed. You know, one of my sons has got a heart valve problem that we found out when he was 2 after banging on a lot of doors to be told I was just a neurotic nurse. Yeah, so I have been there, but you know, we've let him live his life. We haven't, and although it's been scary at times and worrying, you have to let them live their lives, you know. It's the quality of life. It's not how long you're here, it's the quality. So yeah, I do understand that. But then we had the sections where he was talking about his research at Coventry Cathedral and bombing in the war. We did have some flashes to what's happening in war-torn areas, you know, today around the world. And yeah, I could understand that the reference there was that, you know, awful things happen. And in a way, I think he was saying, well, you know, in a war you expect this to happen. Or in the bombing and the blitz, you expected this to happen. But I didn't expect my child to have a cardiac arrest in the middle of the playing field. And yes, I can understand that. But do you know what? How many times did he say this? And it really got annoying. And then finally, I just didn't relate to the characters really. We didn't get enough characterisation of his wife Ruth, who is a GP, and I found it a touch strange that her daughter was, you know, had some life-threatening problem, and she carried on working. Yeah, I know we're dedicated to patients as doctors, but I think she would have had a few days off. And I found Adam very resentful, very cynical. He obviously doesn't like being a stay-at-home husband. And I'll just have to read this out because, you know, this is quite relevant, I think. So I lay now that the fresh knowledge that Miriam had been well at lunchtime and clinically dead half an hour later. And the second night too. I said, I'll stay, you go home and get some rest. My stuff's already here. And Rosie's expecting it to be you at the school gates. Look, I had not said, this is where you pay the price, love. For 15 years you go off every morning in your nice clothes and you get to say, actually, I'm a doctor. And you come home late to find your clothes clean in your drawers, your dinner in the oven, and the girls in their pyjamas with their homework done. I'm the primary carer, the one whose name and number are first on the forms. I'm the one they call when there's an incident, and I'm the one who got here first, so go home. I don't think that's a happy marriage really, do you? So there we go. There's my wrap up of the Tidal Zone. Yeah, be interested to know what you think. Many people absolutely adore this book, but you know, hopefully I've given you a fair review of my thoughts and feelings on it. Okay, now next we had to read a book that had got the cover of your buddy's favourite colour on the cover, and Keriann's colour was blue, favourite colour, so I chose this. And this is Replay by Sharon Creech. This is a lovely blue cover there, and this is a middle grade book, and I loved it. It was a lovely book, and it's quite an unusual narrative in it. It's in the first person, and it's narrated. It's a child narrator, so for those of you that don't like child narrators, it's probably not for you. And this is in a different format. It's an unusual format, and it made it quite interesting. So we've got a lad called Leo, and he comes from a large Italian family, and there's so much hustle and bustle going on, and everybody's got dramas of their own in one way or another. So in a way, his voice is not heard, and you know, that happens in a lot of families with middle children, and it's not intentional, but sometimes that's, you know, they feel a bit lost. So this is his journey really into finding his voice. He's very much into the creative side, the arts. He loves doing plays. So they're doing a play at school. So the format here is sometimes in play form, so as we can see there, and sometimes just in normal prose, and it's a good mixture. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd not read anything by Sharon Creech before. I've got another couple that I got in the set with this, and Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Reads over in the States. She you know, is a lover of this work. She's read quite a few pieces of work by Sharon Creech and really enjoys it. So yeah, really loved that. Very enjoyable, good for your kids to read. Then the next one is we had to offer a choice of 3 books to our buddy, and Keriann chose one of those 3, and this was Behind the Scenes at the Museum by Kate Atkinson. Loved this book, it was fantastic. We've got, it's sort of a family drama really, looking back over the generations, and we've got Ruby, who is the main narrator, and yeah, she's quite comical. She's got quite a funny look on everything really, and yeah, she's a great character. And really we're looking back over the lifetime of her mother. She's not exactly the best mother in the world. She's not very maternalistic, shall we say, and we're also looking back at the life of her grandmother, who is a mum's mum. And yeah, really good looking at the different time narratives, and very well written. This was Kate Atkinson's debut, I believe, and yeah, it's a bit of a loose title, Behind the Scenes at the Museum. It's not really anything to do with the museum. That was just an area where they used to go walking. So don't start thinking it's to do, you know, it's inside a museum and it's all things old and mouldy, because it's not. But yeah, highly recommend that. Brilliant book. Then we had to pick a book with the initial in the title of our buddy. So Keriann is a K, and would you believe it, it's a nightmare trying to find books beginning with K. I couldn't find any on my shelves, so I had to settle for an author beginning with K. So Kazuo Ishiguro, Remains of the Day, and yeah, another good book. A lot of people that have now got banging from next door. A lot of people have recommended this also. Got this from a charity shop, and it's very quintessentially British, shall we say. It's the narrator is Stevens, who is an Asian butler of Darlington Hall, and it gives you a really good insight into what it was like being a butler in some of these upper echelons of society in Britain back in the day. And he goes on a journey through Britain to go and find an old colleague, but it's just his reminiscing ways as he's going back, not going back really, but going along this journey. And you know, in those days people, unless they were very rich, didn't do a lot of travelling. They'd have their own little radius around where they were based, you know, where they were in service, but they didn't tend to go you know, to the other end of Britain, etc. So it is sort of exciting to get a glimpse of his viewpoint on everything. But it's very much, you know, how can we say, it's very much as if it's been written by, you know, the aristocracy of Britain and their ways. And you wouldn't believe that you know, Kazuo was born actually in Japan. I mean, he lives in London now, I believe, but yeah, excellent portrayal of this character, and well worth a read. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Bit of a wacky cover, as I think I've said on my TBR, but don't let that put you off, you know, if you think that's a bit wacky. Excellent, excellent. If you like, not cosy, it's not cosy really, but it's a good look at, you know, the historical Britain from a different perspective other than the you know, the aristocracy. This is from the viewpoint of the servants, as it were. I think I'm losing my voice today, do you know? And then so that's 4, and then the 5th book that I read was A Guilty Pleasure. Now my guilty pleasures are always either going back into my childhood and rereading things that I loved as a child, or middle grade books. And I read second form at Mallory Towers, the second one in the series. I've already read book one, because we are reading 3 books for Victoria's Children's Classics. These I loved. I loved Mallory Towers when I was growing up in the 70s. I used to pretend I went to boarding school. I used to wait avidly for the next one to come out. I was riveted, and you can tell here it's well thumbed. I have a problem with these. I didn't think I would. I have reread some of Enid Blyton's, and although they were very much of the time and the language was of the time, it still was a very good mystery read, like the what have I read recent? Secret of Moon Castle, for example. But this is the first time that I've reread Mallory Towers, and I find that there are a lot of problems with it. Yes, I do believe that some schools have banned Enid Blyton books because they say that they are quite racist, quite sexist. That was the times we were living in, the 60s and 70s. That's how it was. And in some respects, I love these books. I didn't grow up with those, those attitudes. I didn't grow up racist or sexist. My dad did as much as my mum. He worked very hard. He'd do washing up, he'd do ironing, he'd do cleaning, he'd do everything my mum did. So I was fortunate in that respect, that although I was brought up in the 60s and 70s, I had got a good family morals, shall we say, good family upbringing, which I think stops you from taking note. But I can see what these people mean. And they wouldn't be books that I would be recommending young children to read. I think that some of the characters are very spiteful, they're very opinionated, they are very judgmental. Oh, we've got a new girl coming in, oh, look at her, I won't like her, look at the look of her, oh, look at that top, look at this. And I know children can be spiteful, and they're still spiteful today, and there's a lot of bullying going on, and bullying's rife. But I think we should be setting the tone so that our children, oh my God, we've now got a bloody motorbike. Never mind, it's all part of the fun, she says. Do you know we never hear anything normally, do we? We've got a big playing field on the back, and the most noise you hear is usually when they're playing rugby and football at weekend teams. And suddenly, because we're out filming anyway, so yeah, I don't think it's getting across to children good morals, really, how to treat people, how not to be bullying, how not to be prejudgmental of people on first sighting. I didn't enjoy them at all. Yeah, I think they're very flawed. Very sad. I was looking forward to them. I loved them. They were a big part of my growing up. But no, I wouldn't be recommending them, because I don't think that they are. Yes, I can understand that a lot of Enid Blyton books are representative of the times, and yeah, like I've said, that's how it was in that day. But I think Mallory Towers is a pretty overbearing example, shall we say, of everything that I don't like in society or in people. So yeah, very disappointed, but hey ho, I still have fond memories from my childhood. So there we go, that's my wrap up for everything that happened in Book Buddyathon. Thank you for joining me, and see you again next time. Bye.